I used to think I had my life figured out. I really did. I had the 5-year plan, the career trajectory, the relationship that was supposed to last forever, the house I picked out in my head, the whole damn picture-perfect Instagram life that everyone envied. And then life happened. Isn't that always the way it goes? Just when you think you've got it all mapped out, the universe decides to shake things up a bit. Started small like most things do. A missed promotion at work that I was sure I had in the bag. Then my boyfriend. I still can't bring myself to call him my ex. Started getting distant. We'd been together for 3 years. And suddenly it was like he was living in a different world. Different time zones, different priorities, different dreams. The conversations became surface level, the intimacy disappeared, and I kept telling myself it was just a rough patch. You know that feeling when you're holding on to something that's already slipped through your fingers. And then my dad got sick. Cancer. The big C that changes everything. One day he's coaching my little brother's baseball team, cracking jokes about my terrible golf game, and the next he's lying in a hospital bed looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. I remember sitting in that sterile room, watching him fade and thinking, this isn't how it's supposed to happen. My dad was supposed to be there for my wedding, to meet my future kids, to grow old and complain about his aches and pains. Not this. Not like this. Within 6 months, I'd lost my job after the company downsized. My relationship ended when he finally worked up the courage to tell me he'd fallen out of love, and I was planning my father's funeral. I was 28 years old, and I felt like I'd already lived 3 lifetimes of heartbreak. I remember standing in his study after the funeral, surrounded by all his things, his books, his old golf clubs, and thinking, what now? Because everything I thought I knew about my future had just crumbled, and I was left standing in the rubble wondering how I was supposed to rebuild anything from the pieces. The next year was rough. I moved back in with my mom, which was humiliating at 28. I took a job at a coffee shop just to pay the bills, which was a far cry from my corporate marketing position. I cried in the shower more times than I can count, and I spent countless nights scrolling through social media watching my former colleagues post about their promotions, my ex post pictures with someone new, and my friends announce their pregnancies and engagements. Meanwhile, I was making $5 an hour plus tips and wondering if I'd ever feel like myself again. But here's the thing about rock bottom. It's not a place you visit, it's a foundation you build from. Slowly, painfully, I started to rebuild. The coffee shop job taught me more about human connection than any corporate training ever did. I met people from all walks of life, heard their stories, shared my own when I felt brave enough. I learned that everyone is fighting battles you can't see, and that kindness really does cost nothing but means everything. I started writing again. Not the strategic SEO-optimized content I used to create for work, but real writing. The kind that comes from your gut, your heart, your messy, complicated experiences. I'd write in the margins of napkins, on my phone during breaks, at 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. I wrote about grief and growth, about loss and learning to love again, about finding beauty in broken places. It was terrible at first. Raw and unpolished and probably unreadable. But it was mine. And that was enough. My mom, bless her heart, never once made me feel like a failure. She'd lost her husband, her best friend, and she was watching her daughter figure out who she was supposed to be without the roadmap we'd both assumed we'd follow. But she'd make me coffee every morning and ask about my writing, and when I'd shrug and say, I don't know if it's any good, she'd just smile and say, well, you're still here, aren't you? Still trying. And she was right. I was still here. Still trying. Still moving forward even when I didn't know where I was going or if I'd like what I'd find when I got there. That's the thing about faith. It's not about knowing the outcome. It's about trusting the process even when you can't see the pattern. About 18 months after my dad died, I got an email from a small publishing house. They'd found my blog. I'd started posting my writing online mostly as a way to process my grief, and they wanted to know if I'd be interested in writing a book about loss and resilience. I cried when I read that email. Happy tears, grateful tears, tears that said, "See, I told you something good was coming." The book took 2 years to write. 2 years of interviews with people who'd lost everything and found their way back to themselves. 2 years of therapy, of learning to love myself as I was rather than who I thought I should be. 2 years of slowly, carefully, deliberately rebuilding my life into something that felt authentic and true. And you know what's funny? When I look back at that time, that horrible, beautiful, devastating time, I can see how every piece connected. Losing my job forced me to reevaluate what I really wanted to do with my life. Ending my relationship opened my heart up for something real and honest and messy and wonderful. And losing my dad. Well, losing my dad taught me that life is precious and fragile and that we have to make it count while we're here. I met my current partner 6 months before my book was published. He's a teacher, which I never would have imagined myself with in my old life, but he's kind and patient and he makes me laugh in a way that feels like coming home. We're not rushing toward any particular timeline or checking boxes on a list. We're just enjoying the journey of getting to know each other, and it's more beautiful than any fairy tale I ever imagined. My book launched last spring, and it's done better than I ever dreamed possible. But more than that, it's connected me with people all over the world who are going through their own versions of loss and struggle. Women who've lost parents too young, men who've rebuilt their lives after divorce, young people figuring out who they are after everything they thought they knew crumbled. They write to me and tell me my words help them feel less alone, and I think, well, that's exactly what my dad would have wanted. For me to help other people feel seen and heard and loved. Sometimes I still miss the old life I thought I wanted. The corner office, the matching furniture, the perfectly curated social media feed. But then I look around at the life I actually have. The cozy apartment I decorated myself, the job that feels meaningful, the relationship that's real and messy and beautiful, the bookshelf full of my own published work. And I realize I got something so much better than what I planned for. I got a life that's authentically mine. So here's what I want you to know if you're listening to this and you're in the middle of your own storm. And we all go through them whether we show it on social media or not. Trust the process. Keep moving forward even when you can't see the path ahead. Every step you take, every breath you breathe, every moment you choose hope over despair, it's all shaping you into exactly who you need to be. You don't have to understand the why right now. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep showing up, keep trying, keep believing that something beautiful is waiting for you on the other side of this difficult season. 'Cause it is. Promise you it is. One day. And I mean this with every fiber of my being. One day you're going to look back at this moment right now and you're going to see how it all connected. How the job you lost led you to something better. How the relationship that ended freed you up for real love. How the heartbreak taught you resilience. How the darkness showed you where to find the light. Keep moving forward. Your path is already there, waiting for you to walk it.